it involves pirates and dragons. And I'm like, I saw it and I was like, oh, I have to get these. Like, pirates and dragons, what more can you ask for? I'm so excited to give these a shot. I'm just gonna be very blunt here. It was boring. The characters were just intolerable and insufferable and annoying. Stop talking and do something. Just shut up. Uh, well, this is awkward. Okay, so for a recap, I did a library book haul in March where I was very, very excited to read this trilogy. It was called I believe it was called the Dragon Corsairs trilogy. The premise of it was supposed to be like pirates and dragons, and well, it turns out that it's not really. I was reading through these books. It was okay. I mean, at first I was quite enjoying myself. The first book is actually the strongest, I would say, out of the three. And then it drags out for the second and third book. I actually DNF'd the third book, unfortunately. And it still annoys me to this day because I was like, I believe like at least 20% of the way through, but like I just could not bring myself to continue reading it. And yeah, so it turns out that these books were, let's just say they didn't reach my expectations. I was very disappointed. What I was expecting, first of all, was for this to be like a really fun adventure with a bunch of sky pirates, and I thought it was gonna be like swashbuckling type of situation where they go and they wreak havoc on the world because they're pirates, as pirates usually do, and on top of that there are dragons, so I thought like, I don't know, maybe. Well, it turns out in the book, this I was okay with, is that the dragon is friends with the captain of the pirates. And well, with that premise, I was expecting them to get into, pirate shenanigans or something and have a lot of fun with it, with a bunch of like smooth criminals type of situation. I don't know. But nah, turns out that it's completely political, and I'm just gonna be very blunt here. It was boring. The first book was at least fun because there was a little bit of pirating, but then the premise of the pirates are completely abandoned in the second, third book, and that's why I couldn't push through it. Which, yeah, it was a huge disappointment. I did not really enjoy the second and third book of the trilogy. First book was okay, like I said, but yeah, it was totally not what I wanted out of it, and I don't really know who to blame here. It could have been my fault that I just borrowed these books without really like doing my research, but then it was kind of marketed at the same time. It's kind of marketed as like a pirate and dragon story, especially with these covers, the way these covers look like, and it was like privateer is not that far from pirate, and the main character Kate was a pirate for like a good chunk of the first novel, so something went wrong there. And the premise completely changed into this boring lost heir type of story where this prince just is groomed. No, okay, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. But basically, his mother wants him to take the throne. And so he's basically raised to be the prince of this country. And there's like a lot of political tension, yada yada. And then like he doesn't really want to be king. And it would have been at least bearable if he was a bearable character. He was so boring. He was kind of annoying, not gonna lie. And from the first time he met the pirate captain, who's the main character, Kate, he was completely obsessed with her, and that was really annoying to read. The main character, Kate, I also, because that's the other reason that I picked these books, is because it was supposed to be a woman who was a pirate captain, and I don't really know that many books. Like I haven't really read that many books with pirates. I really do want to, but I've always had like a really huge soft spot for like pirate type of swashbuckling type of stories, and I was really looking forward to reading a woman pirate captain and her crew, and I was expecting endearing, goofy characters and just like a really fun adventure. But no, what I got was a bunch of annoying characters who couldn't stop making googly eyes at each other, and they're supposed to be adults apparently, but they were acting like children, especially the prince character, which that was also really annoying. But yeah, this is I'm just like vomiting out my thoughts right now. So this isn't really like formatted it in any way. Maybe I should format it and talk about everything. But like, I returned the books, so I don't have them, so I can't even really recap even if I wanted to. So it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep this as like a casual talk / rant where I'm just like annoyed at this trilogy, I guess. Also, by the way, kind of late, but like, yeah, there's gonna be spoilers. I'm gonna talk about spoilers and whatever because I can't even like distinguish between the first and second book. So yeah, just knowing that. Also, because the thing is, this trilogy sent me into a reading slump. It should have been the opposite because I was so excited to read this. I was so excited for an adventure story, but it was no, it's all political intrigue and all about spies and how this prince is like a fake prince, but no, he's actually the rightful heir. And oh no, the queen is dying, so now she must be replaced. But oh no, her cousin, I believe, her cousin and her sister, whatever, are like wanting to become the next ruler. And it's just like really, like, it's just basically a political mess is what it is, what this book is. And I kind of get it, I guess. It's like, typical monarch political chess type of situation. And then I was kind of sick of and bored of it by the third book. The reason the first book worked for me was because the political part wasn't really as prevalent. It still was with like the prince's mom. The prince, his name is Thomas. His mom is really annoying as well. Turns out I don't like any of the characters. The dragon character was probably my favorite. Oh no, I did have a favorite character, and his name was Simon, and he's this like eccentric inventor type of character. He's like a scientist, I believe, and he's like this genius. And to be honest, I feel like that's the only reason he was my favorite character. But he wasn't even like, he didn't even come out that much in the book. I think he had the most screen time in the third book, which should have made me want to continue read it. But like, yeah, that went south. The dragon character was also really good. Like, I liked him, and I also thought the dragon society was pretty interesting. But other than that, like, the characters were just intolerable and insufferable and annoying. Because Kate was, at least she wasn't like boy crazy. She was, like a pretty strong character on her own. She's very loyal to the dragon because, they're friends, and she's very loyal to her crew, which that's the dynamic that I actually really, really wanted, was like a pirate crew that's very tight-knit and they would do everything for each other, and they're loyal, but they're criminals. And I feel like that would have been so much fun, but no, we just get boring politics. Like, she gets involved in the political stuff because I don't know, somehow she gets hired as a privateer by this powerful guy in the country. I don't even remember what the country is called, and he's like this queen's spy master, which is where the title of the first book comes from. And his name is Henry, and he was an okay character. He definitely had a lot more depth than the prince, so there were like good characters. But I feel like the thing is, him and Simon, they were actually like from the previous trilogy. And I think in my haul, when I was talking about this Dragon Corsairs trilogy, I was saying that I think it only takes place in the same world, but there's not much connections. No, I was wrong. This is like, has a little bit of like stuff that happens from the previous trilogy gets mentioned again in this trilogy. And I feel like that's where most of the depth actually comes from for these characters, is because they're characters from the previous ones. The new characters just like didn't really do it for me. So the captain, she I liked her. She was okay. But of course, it still got kind of annoying because later on, like, she couldn't stop thinking about the prince. And holy crap, one of my least favorite things in writing comes up is where one attractive feature of a character is the only thing that's ever mentioned about them. So this prince character, Thomas, he is known for his blue eyes, and this woman would not freaking shut up about how blue his eyes were. Like, literally, that's all he is. He's literally the blue-eyed guy. Like, everyone is like, oh, does he have striking blue eyes? It's like, oh yeah, how did you know? Literally, that's a scene where someone asks her, oh, did he have striking blue eyes? And she was like, yes. And he was like, oh, that's the prince. It's like, what the hell? So that was a thing. And then so from then on, like, he's literally obsessed with her. He's like fascinated by her because she's a criminal, and she's like the famed Captain Kate or whatever, because there's this other character who's like a journalist, and she writes wild stories in like a section of the newspapers where she like kind of embellishes Kate's stories and like her adventures, which, if I'm being completely honest here, I would have much rather read her account of Kate's adventures as opposed to what I actually got in the book. But yeah, so there was all that like disappointment, and I was giving it a chance. The second book was okay. It was like really dragging in like the middle of the second book, but the climax kind of like propelled it, and I was like, oh, that's getting interesting now. And then the third book just completely fell flat. The third book, even I don't even know what the third book was. Like I said, I DMF'd it, and it's literally all dialogue. Like, these characters, all they did was just sit down and talk about what they were gonna do. There was no tension. It was just really annoying. Like, the villain would tell, like, the main character or like whoever, whenever the villain came on screen, the villain would talk about, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm gonna do, and then the characters would be like, this is how we have to stop him, this is what we have to do. It's like, stop talking and do something, just shut up. But yeah, so that was also really, like, that's one of the main reasons the story in the third book dragged. And there is the obvious romance between Thomas and Kate, which the thing is, I don't know, combined with like my previous videos, it's gonna sound like I just really hate romance. That is not true. I can very much appreciate a very well done romance, but that's the key word there, well done. This was not a well done romance. This was terribly done. First of all, Thomas and Kate barely even get to meet each other. They meet at first because Kate is trying to steal some stuff from this like ship, and then Thomas also wants to steal the same things because he's like, oh, this is gonna be good for my country. I don't know, it's like this weird thing, because it has to do with like the magic system and how the airships run in this world. So they meet there, and then he figures out, oh, she's the famed Captain Kate from the newspapers or whatever, and she doesn't realize he's a prince yet. But I liked her in this part because she was really annoyed at him, and she didn't like him, and she mistrusted him. But he was like all over her, he was like obsessed with her, and he would like, he I don't know, for some reason this one scene triggered me, and somehow I think because there were like other like people after them, like guards or something, were after them because, you know, they're trying to steal this precious stuff. And oh, I think the dragon comes, and the dragon is supposed to be like Kate's getaway. So there's three of them because Thomas's friend is also there, and he's actually also kind of connected with Kate, like they kind of know each other as well. And so they try to escape because there's this like ladder or whatever that's hanging off of this dragon, and so they want to get on there to escape. So Thomas and Philip, which is his friend, they go on it, and then Kate is like, you know, she wants to like take some stuff, so she's like telling them to go first, and it's supposed to be this like really dangerous thing. But then Thomas, he like goes and he like grabs her waist and like pulls her with him, and I was like, sir, stop like acting like she can't take care of herself. Like, I don't know, it just kind of triggered me. It was just really annoying. And then like after that, oh, all he can think about is Kate. Like, he met her just once, and then after that they barely had any interaction. I think in the entirety of like the first and second book in total, they met only like a total of like maybe 4 times, 5 times, and that's being generous. And it's like, there is no development for this romance to take place. The only reason that it happens is because he's obsessed with her from the first time, and he's actually like engaged to this other character, but she ends up liking his friend. and that's how that it's not even a love triangle really, because she doesn't like him, but like that conflict is resolved, which is also like, that's actually turns out it's another one of my pet peeves, because it also happened in Dark Lover, which I did make a rant video of. And it's like when you're supposed to like all the characters that are involved in this love mess, like as in the main two characters are supposed to get together, but then either one of them have like another love interest, but we're supposed to like that love interest, then the two main characters' original love interests like each other, so that the main characters can like each other without any consequences. Am I making any sense? I feel like, yeah. And yeah, Kate didn't really have a thing with Philip, but still like a really annoying that that's how Thomas doesn't get any like backlash for not liking the person he's engaged to because she likes his friend. I don't know, it's just like one of the tropes that I find that I really don't like. But yeah, it's it's just like a lot of little moments like that that's really annoying. Kate's crew originally was like really interesting because she actually grew up on the ship, and so a lot of her crewmates actually knew her since she was a kid, and her father died, and so one of her father's original shipmates is actually kind of like her uncle, and I really love that dynamic. I thought it would have been so much fun to just go with that and have like an adventure with that, but no, it had to go through this other annoying, completely boring plot line where the queen is ill, and so there's this like conspiracy where people want to like take over the country, and then there's this one character that wants to have a war between this country and then on this other country, and it's like, stop. It's so annoying. Like, and of course Thomas, being the inept prince that he is, ends up becoming a puppet king, because he becomes a king at the end of the second book, and it turns out that it's all like the machinations of one of the generals of his secret army, and he's actually like a mercenary, so he makes Thomas king for his own interest, and he wants to basically become the puppeteer and rule the country through Thomas. Like, what a surprise. This guy was going around doing his own secret business, and Thomas was just like oblivious to it because he completely didn't want anything to do with it. Like, his mom sets up this entire like private army and sets like connections with like people in the country who secretly want him to become the next king. And this mercenary, you trust the mercenary. Like, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of really annoying and dumb, and like Thomas like completely becomes this really stupid guy, like, because he's not even interested in becoming the king. And the thing is, like, that would have been a very interesting conflict. Like, oh, I don't want to be king, but it's my rightful place, and if I don't become king, there's going to be a civil war, and if there's a civil war, this other country is going to take advantage of that, and it's just going to bring our country to ruin. That would have been a very interesting conflict in itself. But no, first of all, most of his thoughts are only on Kate, and second of all, he's like, oh, I don't want to be prince, but literally everyone around him is like, oh, you're gonna be the next king. They've already accepted that. And so he ends up kind of being forced into it, and it doesn't seem organic at all when he eventually accepts that he wants to be king. Because on top of like being like, oh, I don't want to be king, when he does change his mind and says, oh, I will be king, he doesn't even really do anything different. Like, he doesn't like go and be like, oh, I will look over my army now, or oh, I will start studying what I should do to rule a country or whatever. He just like goes around, like, I don't even know what he does. He just like does what his mom tells him to. And then he only like goes and he gets in the business of Kate, who's like a pirate. Like, why would you get involved with a pirate? You're supposed to be the next king. Like, excuse me. I don't know. It was just like a mess. I feel like his arc was completely like a mess, and this romance was so forced because he barely has any interaction with his supposed love interest. The thing is, and the reason that I'm complaining about the way the romance was poorly developed, is because his friendship with Philip was actually really well developed. I actually quite like that, because Philip originally befriended Thomas to be like a spy, but then he realized that Thomas isn't like how he's rumored to be, because Thomas was originally rumored to be like this like pretender. He was called the Pretender because like people were saying, oh, he's trying to take the throne by pretending to be the rightful heir. But Philip goes and he finds out that no, everything that Thomas's mother was saying is true. Thomas is the rightful heir, but Thomas doesn't even want the throne. And he ends up being like, oh, I will be loyal to you because you are the rightful heir. And then Philip kind of like is exposed later on that he was there as a spy, and like that he's not like Thomas's real friend or whatever. And then he goes through this like, oh, I'm so guilty, like I shouldn't be your friend, I'm willing to face the consequences of betraying you, but you are the rightful king and I do consider you as my friend. And that was so well done. Like, I really liked that, the way Philip and Thomas's friendship developed. And it's so funny that in this book a friendship was more well developed than a romance. Usually I find that it's the other way around. So this is one of like the rare cases where that happened, but like the romance is just insufferable. And so for the third book, I ended up skipping to the end to see how it would end. And it was so predictable. It was like the most predictable ending in the world. So Thomas's original fiance gets married to Philip. Thomas and Kate get married. Kate kind of gives up becoming a pirate. All the villains, kind of like the main villain is dead. There's this other villain that was introduced in the first book, and he doesn't even really play that big of a part in the second book, and I guess he's supposed to be like a huge thing in the third book, but he ends up losing his memory, so he's kind of absolved of everything he did. And it's like, yeah, I what did I expect? No one dies, everything gets resolved in like a pretty little bow, and it's happily ever after for like the main characters, which, you know, that's not a bad thing. It's just like the fact that it was so predictable that when I read I read the last chapter, the epilogue, and it felt like I didn't even have to read the entire book, because it was like I already knew that was going to happen. So what's the point of going through the rest of the book? There's no tension there. But yeah, so this is just like me complaining about these books, because like I said, they sent me into a reading slump, and because of these books I have not been able to read much. I'm trying. I'm like reading through, like I'm in the middle of so many books right now. I've started 1984 and I'm like annotating as I go. I'm more than halfway through The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, which I am quite enjoying, and I'm hoping that's actually like my reading slump is slowly kind of going away as I'm reading these books. But yeah, so this trilogy kind of ruined my reading momentum, and it was really annoying. But yeah, I'm just gonna quickly make this video because I do need to read or talk about books. I feel like I've been wanting to make another video for a while, but I haven't been able to, because not only did this trilogy suck the energy out of me for reading, it also made me lose all motivation for anything regarding books. So I've decided that why not turn it into a good thing, and might as well make it into a productive thing where I make a video because of a trilogy that has made me not want to make a video. Does that make any sense? Whatever. I'm just gonna say that I have a lot to say about this trilogy, so I might as well make a video about it, because I don't know, I guess make it pay off the suffering that I went through reading these books. But yeah, this was not scripted at all, and I find that I'm not very coherent when I don't script things. But hopefully this was like a fun thing. I don't know, it helps to vent. Hopefully it's fun to watch. Hopefully it makes sense a little bit. Maybe I'll go and like redo some things, talk about specific plot points and characters later on if like I find the energy and memory to. But right now I kind of want to blot this trilogy out of my mind, because it did not do what it promised it was gonna do, and I was not very happy. I had to like get rid of the books, like, because, you know, they're library books, so I had to return them. Like, the reason that it sent me into a reading slump was because I couldn't like read through the third book, and when I tried to read another book, I would keep getting this annoying thought at the back of my head, like, I need to finish this because it's a library book, it's gonna be due soon. And there'd be this thought just at the back of my mind telling me that I needed to read this third book first before I read any other book, because library books take priority, because I have to return them, which is kind of like a pain, especially if they get overdue, which that was like my main concern, was because I'm pretty sure that books were overdue because I wasn't finishing this third book, so I just couldn't bring myself to read another better book. So yeah, that's why I blame this trilogy for my reading slump. They're out of the house now, go away. So hopefully I will get my momentum running up again. But yeah, that is all that I have to say, I guess. This ended up being kind of a long video, but it is what it is. It's just me ranting. So I'm gonna go now.